I could not sleep all night. I was too excited. Early the next morning, I heard my father's voice. "Come on, Anna. It's time to get up. We have a long way to the station." I jumped out of bed, dressed quickly, and was soon ready, even though I didn't feel like eating breakfast. My stomach was in knots. Today, I was going to visit my aunt in Naira, and I would be traveling alone on a train for the very first time. My father and I left our village and started the long walk to the station. It felt like forever until we finally got there. Just around midday. The train soon arrived and it was almost empty. A wave of fear washed over me as I stepped onto the train. This was the first time I'd be away from home on my own. My father smiled and reassured me. "Don't worry, your aunt will meet you at Naira. Be careful, Anna. Don't talk to any strangers." The train started with a sudden jolt, and soon we were speeding down the tracks. I watched my father standing on the platform, becoming smaller and smaller until he disappeared from view. The train journey seemed endless. I gazed out the window, watching fields, trees, villages, and animals fly by. Eventually, my eyes started to feel heavy, and before I knew it, I drifted off to sleep. When I woke up, it was dark outside. The landscapes I had seen earlier were gone, replaced by unfamiliar shadows. I suddenly felt small and lost, far from my home and father. I wasn't alone in the carriage anymore either. A man sat across from me now, and he didn't look friendly. He was big, with an ugly face and short hair, and something about him made me feel uneasy. He smiled at me. "Hello," he said. "You're awake now, are you? Where are you headed?" I remembered my father's warning and hesitated. After a moment, I answered quietly, "Naira." The man raised his eyebrows. "Naira? But we passed Naira 2 hours ago." "You were asleep," the man said, his voice almost teasing. I wanted to cry, but I held it in and sat very still. The carriage was warm, but a chill crept through me. Had we really passed Naira? "We've passed Naira?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "Yes," he replied casually. Panic set in. How would I get back to Naira? I didn't have any money for another ticket. I thought about my aunt, waiting for me at the station. What would she think when I didn't arrive? "Don't worry," the man said, interrupting my thoughts. "I'll help you. What's your name?" "Anna," I muttered softly. "My name is Sam," he said, smiling in a way that made me even more uncomfortable. "You can trust me, Anna." I looked at him again. His face was rough and ugly, with a long scar running down one side. He looked dangerous, but there was something in his voice that seemed kind. I didn't know what to think. Was he good or bad? The train started to slow down, and Sam stood up to look out the window. As he moved, I noticed a newspaper on his seat. I leaned forward and saw a photograph on the back page. It was Sam's face, staring back at me from the paper. Above the photo, a headline caught my eye. "This man is a dangerous fighter." My heart sank. Now I was sure Sam wasn't just dangerous, he was a criminal. I had to get away from him, and fast. The train pulled into the station, and Sam turned to me. "We're coming into Polona now," he said. "Stay with me. I'll help you." As soon as the train stopped, I jumped up and ran for the door. My hands fumbled with the handle, but the door was heavy, and I couldn't get it open. Sam came up behind me. "Let me do it," he said. opening the door effortlessly. I bolted toward the exit, my heart pounding. But before I could leave, someone stopped me. "Where's your ticket?" I handed it over, and the man looked at me sternly. "This ticket is for Naira. Why are you here?" I fell asleep. I missed my stop," I stammered. "I don't have any money to buy another ticket." A voice came from behind me. "I'll pay for her." It was Sam. He handed over some money, and the ticket inspector nodded. "Thank you, sir." Sam turned to me, his eyes watching me closely. "Come with me, Anna." Every fiber of my being wanted to run, but fear held me frozen in place. I was frightened of Sam. Lost, tired, and in a strange place. I had no one to turn to. Polona was a big town, and I didn't know a soul there. Sam hailed a taxi. "Get in, Anna," he said firmly, so I did. "The Boxer Hotel," Sam told the driver. We drove through the busy streets of Polona. I stared out the window, watching as the cars, shops, and people blurred by. The streets were wide and bustling, but eventually the taxi turned down a narrow, dark street and stopped. Sam got out, paying the driver, and I hesitated, glancing up and down the shadowy street. "Come on, Anna," Sam urged. I couldn't run. I was too tired and weak, and Sam was big and strong. Reluctantly, I followed him inside the hotel. There was a cafe in the hotel lobby. It looked old and dingy, not very clean at all. 2 men sat at a table nearby, drinking and playing cards. When they noticed Sam, one of them waved and called out, "Hey, Sammy, come have a drink." The other man glanced at me and grinned. "Who's the pretty girl?" Sam shrugged off his coat and sat down at their table. "Hello, Tino." "Hello, Bubs," he said. "This is Anna. She's lost." Both men looked me up and down and laughed. "Lost, is she?" Tino said mockingly. "Poor Anna. You're a lucky man, Sam. Have a drink." Sam pulled up a chair for me, and I sat down, feeling uneasy. Tino had a mustache, and Bubs was missing his front teeth. They both looked tough, rough around the edges. As they drank, Tino pushed a glass of wine toward me. "Come on, Anna, have some wine," he urged. I shook my head and pushed the glass away, my mind racing. I can't eat or drink anything, I thought. What if they put something in it? I imagined them slipping me a drug that would knock me out, and then I'd never escape. Sam didn't seem to notice my fear. He called the waiter over. "Bring some dinner," he said. "Good. Hot food." When the waiter returned with plates of food, Bubs scooped some onto a plate for me and handed it over. It looked so good and smelled even better. For a moment, I forgot my fear. I was so hungry, and the food was tempting. I started eating, quickly finishing everything on my plate. When I put down my spoon, I noticed all the men were watching me. They laughed again, and once more, fear crept into my chest. "Come on, Anna," Sam said, standing up. "You're tired. You need to go to bed now." He grabbed my arm, and I froze, unsure of what to do next. "Lock her door," Tino said to Sam. "There are bad men in Polona. You need to keep her safe." Bubs chuckled. "Good night, Anna," he said. Sam guided me upstairs into a small, dimly lit bedroom. My heart pounded in my chest. "Good night, Anna," Sam said, giving me a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, you're safe here." I didn't respond. Even though Sam seemed kind, the memory of the newspaper flashed in my mind. He was dangerous. And so were his friends. I had to escape. Sam closed the door behind him and locked it. I heard his footsteps fading as he went downstairs. I sat on the bed, tears welling up in my eyes. Downstairs, I could hear the men laughing and playing cards, their voices carrying up through the floor. Eventually, exhaustion overtook me, and I fell into a restless sleep. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the window. I got up and peered outside. The waiter was sitting into the street, smoking a cigarette and reading a newspaper. The room was grimy, with scraps of old paper scattered on the floor. My eyes landed on a small table in the corner, where I spotted a biro. An idea sparked. I grabbed the biro and a piece of paper from the floor. Quickly, I scribbled a note. "Please help me. I need to go to Naira. My aunt is waiting for me. I must escape. I have no money or friends. Anna." I folded the note and threw it out of the window. The waiter picked it up, read it, and glanced at me. He smiled before walking into the hotel. My heart raced as I heard voices outside my room, and then the sound of a key turning in the lock. Someone was coming to help. I ran toward the door, my hopes soaring. But when the door opened, it was Sam standing there, holding my note in his hand. "Good afternoon, Anna," he said calmly. "You've slept in. You must be hungry." My heart sank. Sam had intercepted the note. Worse still, the waiter and Sam were in this together. I realized I had no allies here. "Come downstairs and eat," Sam said. "We're leaving soon." I followed him downstairs, but I couldn't eat. The food sat in front of me untouched as I kept my guard up. Sam stepped outside and I could hear him talking to someone. They were discussing something, but I couldn't make out the words. When Sam returned, he smiled, that twisted smile again. "We have to go now, Anna," he said, leading me to a taxi waiting outside. As we got in, I asked, "Where are we going?" "I'll take you to your aunt later," Sam replied with a grin. "First, I have some important business to take care of." We drove for a while before the taxi came to a stop outside a large building. I looked up at the sign. Suddenly, everything made sense. Sam wasn't a criminal. He was a boxer. Dangerous fighter meant he was a skilled boxer, not a crook. I followed him into the building, which was a massive hall with seats all around and a boxing ring in the center. Tino and Bubs were already there, waiting for us. "Stay here, Anna," Sam said gently. "Tino and Bubs will look after you. I have to go now." Tino and Bubs shook Sam's hand. "Good luck, Sam," Bubs said with a confident grin. "You'll win for sure," Tino added with a nod. For the first time, I smiled at Sam. "Good luck, Sam," I said softly, feeling a strange mix of hope and worry. Tino and Bubs led me to a seat right beside the boxing ring. Tino sat on one side and Bubs on the other. I sat quietly, absorbing the energy of the place, while the two men chatted excitedly. "Sam's going to win," Tino said as if there were no doubt. "Of course," Bubs agreed. "He's the best fighter in the country." As I listened, I realized that Sam was more than just a dangerous fighter. He was famous and respected. "Everyone's rooting for him," Tino continued. "Everybody likes Sam. Yeah, Bubs nodded. He's a great boxer and a good man too. Tino leaned closer to me. You know, I heard a story about him, he began, his voice dropping a little. One night, Sam was asleep and he heard shouts from the street. A house was on fire. He ran out there and didn't think twice. There was a child inside. My eyes widened as I listened. He went in and saved that kid. But he got hurt real bad doing it, Tino explained, his voice lowering in respect. His face was burned, and that's how he got that scar. Poor Sam, Bubs added, shaking his head. That's why he looks the way he does. The two men chuckled lightly, but my heart softened. Everything made sense now. I felt safe with Sam, and even began to feel sorry for him. I realized he wasn't the dangerous man I had feared. Is the fight going to start soon? I asked Tino, my curiosity and worry mixing together. Yeah, it'll start any minute now, he replied, glancing around as the hall began to fill with people. The noise level rose as boys walked around selling cigarettes and sweets. The crowd was buzzing with excitement. In the center of the ring, the referee stood, waiting. The anticipation was electric. Sam! Sam! The crowd began to shout. We want Sam! We want Sam! Suddenly, Sam climbed into the ring. He was dressed in shorts and big boxing gloves, raising his hands into the air as the crowd roared its approval. Sam! 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 They shouted, their voices filled with enthusiasm. Then the other fighter entered the ring. He was huge, towering over Sam, with muscles that bulged beneath his skin. Here comes Danny, Tino muttered. He's tough, all right. A real good fighter. I felt a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. Don't worry, Anna. Bubs reassured me. Sam's the best fighter there is. The referee called the two fighters to the center of the ring, and the entire hall went silent in anticipation. He spoke to them quietly for a few moments, and then Sam and Danny shook hands. The two fighters went back to their corners and waited. A bell rang, and the fight began. Danny was younger than Sam, but he was a good fighter. He moved fast. He tried to hit Sam, but Sam jumped away every time. Sam's arms were long. He moved very quickly. He hit Danny hard many times. I was very excited. My hands held the seat tightly. It was a long fight. Sam moved quickly, and he hit Danny often, but Danny did not fall. Sam was getting tired. He was moving more, and I was worried. The crowd was shouting, Sam! Sam! I shouted, Sam! Sam, come on! Sam, watch out! Tino and Bubs were shouting too. Danny hit Sam's face hard. Blood came out of Sam's nose, and one of his eyes was nearly closed. But Sam did not stop. He ran forward and hit Danny with all his strength. Danny fell over and lay still. The referee started to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Danny did not move. 5, 6, 7. Danny tried to get up. He could not. 8, 9, 10. Danny lay still. The fight was over. Sam was the winner. I was laughing and clapping. Well done, Sam. Well done, Sam. Shouted. But nobody heard me. Everybody was shouting, Sam. We want Sam. We want Sam. Tino and Bubs took me to the dressing room. Sam was resting. Hello, Sam. I said, you were great. Sam was surprised. Hello, Anna, he said, you're different now. You didn't talk to me before. I'm sorry, Sam, I said. I was frightened. I know, said Sam. I'm big and ugly. And you were frightened. But I'm not a criminal, Anna. I'm sorry, Sam. I said again. I was wrong. I'm not frightened now. Sam was pleased. Anna, we'll go to Naira now, he said. Your auntie is waiting for you. I said goodbye to Tino and Bubs. I got into a taxi with Sam. It was a long way to Naira, and I asked Sam many questions. Talked and talked until we reached Naira at 11:07 p.m. It was dark. Sam knew Naira, and he quickly found my aunt's house. We knocked on the door. My aunt was standing in the doorway. She was crying. Oh, Anna! Anna, she said, thank God you're here at last. Then she saw Sa. He looked terrible. His face was cut and bruised after the fight. Anna, she said, who is this man? Auntie, I said. Don't be angry. This is Sam. I fell asleep on the train. I passed the Naira station and Sam helped me. He took me to a hotel. He brought me to Naira in a taxi. My aunt looked at Sam again. Wait a minute. She said. She ran inside and he came back with a newspaper. Sam's photograph was on the back page. Are you Sam? The boxer, she asked. Yes, I am, said Sam. My aunt was pleased. Sam was famous. He was a great man. Everybody knew him. Come in, Sam, she said. Please sit down. Will you have some tea? I sat in the room with my aunt, and Sam did not say anything. I felt very happy. My auntie asked Sam many questions. She laughed a lot. She liked him. It was getting very late. I must go now, said Sam softly, rising from his seat. My heart skipped. Can I come and see you again? Yes, Sam. I smiled. Feeling warmth fills my heart. Sam smiled back, a little shy, as if he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Then, with a gentle nod, he turned and walked toward the door, leaving a lasting impression behind. I looked at my auntie, her face filled with approval. She liked Sam. Everyone did, it seemed. But for me, this was different. He wasn't just a boxer, not just a man with a scarred face and rough exterior. He was kind and brave, and had saved me in ways I hadn't expected. As the door closed behind Sam, the room felt a little emptier. But I was no longer afraid. I had found a friend most unexpectedly, and I knew deep down that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I was safe now, and I was home. I hope you learned something from this story. Don't judge the book by its cover. Do not judge people by their appearance. In other words, don't be prejudiced. Thank you for listening. If you found this video useful, like and subscribe to our channel for more stories. See you in our next video.